Praise Jesus. I'm here with a testimony of God's goodness and hopefully an encouragement to someone who needs it. Last year, in June, I had gone out of the country. I came back, and a week into my returning, my brother who follows me had a slight fall in his house. But somehow this fall, and I mean, it wasn't a big fall. He didn't have even scratches on his body. It was just one of those, you teguka and you fall. But this fall turned out to be a fatal fall because he says after the fall, he stayed for a few hours and realized that he can't move his body. And around, that happens in the evening, and around in the morning, around 5 a.m., they get him to the hospital, and they have to put a thing on his neck so that he doesn't have to move, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, my brother ended up in ICU in one of the Nairobi hospitals. And he stayed in ICU for a month. He had surgeries. Now, when we went to the hospital where he was going to be in ICU, they called us in and they told us, unfortunately for your brother, it seems when he fell, I guess he bent his neck or something happened, and his nerves around his neck was seriously affected. In the beginning, they thought they were broken or something like that. And so they told us that my brother will never, for the rest of his life, move his body from his neck down, that he's going to be on a bed for as long as he lives. Remember, I told you he's younger than me. He's the one who follows me. So they told us they're going to take him to theater because they would want to reduce the risk of him getting worse. But we should be ready that for the rest of his life, he is not going to move out of a hospital bed. And they took him to theater, came back with disc issues. They had fixed his disc. They had also done whatever it is that they could do. When they brought him back out of theater now, he couldn't talk. And for days on end, he was in ICU in an oxygen mask. He couldn't breathe on his own. He couldn't eat. So he had an opening in his belly where they had to put his food through. And he had to remain on oxygen for days, weeks at the ICU, not talking, nothing. And even then, the doctors are saying, we're just trying to rehabilitate him so that he can be able to come off oxygen, but we cannot do much for him. I remember a month into him being in ICU, the senior ICU doctor, I'm not mentioning the hospital for personal reasons, called us for a meeting and told us that we've done everything that we can do for your brother and for your son. My mother was there. And now we want to advise you to go home and set up an ICU lookalike room. Get an ICU bed, get an oxygen, I forget the name we call that thing, and get a permanent care nurse to help him and a therapist to keep, exercising his limbs. That day, in that room, everybody fell and broke down in tears. It was the darkest day. All along we kept hoping that something will happen. He'd been in theater and out of theater about 2 times or so, and we kept hoping for a miracle. But the doctor comes now and tells us, we are telling you, it's 1 month into ICU. There's nothing we can do for this man. Carry him home and make him comfortable for as long as he lives. You can imagine my brother being in ICU and he's told these things by the doctors. So every time you saw him Gant, he would tell you, please tell them to switch off the oxygen machines. They're making noise for me. But literally what my brother was saying is, I want to die. So he wanted the oxygen mask removed. He wanted the oxygen removed completely. He actually wanted to die. The thought of him living like that from his age now, and for the rest of his life, was something he couldn't come, to terms with. And so he wanted to die. He didn't want to live. So he kept saying, tell them the machines are making noise. But really, it wasn't the machines making noise. We came from that hospital and moved him to another place. The only thing now we had on our side was God, because there was no doctor's report giving us any kind of hope. And we prayed. We prayed. I mean, my family prayed. And instead of moving him home, we decided to move him to another facility. Where now, because medically the doctors couldn't do anything more for him, because medically, so to speak, he was not sick, something you can give medication, so they were no longer doing anything for him. So ICU to HDU, and now we decided we're going to move him by faith to a facility that can try and see whether any of his limbs can wake up. We were in that facility for 5 months. When we got to that facility, the doctor called us. I remember the doctor actually called me and somebody else because we were the first ones to get there with the ambulance. And he said, we've seen your brother, and here we've never dealt with a case this bad. Here we don't do medical treatment. Your brother seems he still might need oxygen, because up until that time, they were not 100% sure he would never need oxygen. And so they said to me and to his wife, was it his wife? I believe so. If we are unable to help your brother, we'll ask you to take him and take him back where you've come from. Now, we knew where we've come from. They are not going to let us take him back there because they told us to take him home. So it's go home and pray. We prayed. And about a month and a half into my brother being in the new facility, we began to see miracles. We began to see his left hand can move his fingers. His leg can move a little. And we are thinking, there is a God. And we intensified prayer. We prayed for the doctors. We prayed for the miracle. And by the time we were there for about the third month, I remember the doctor saying to us, I think this will be the biggest success we'll ever register for this hospital. And so all of a sudden, my brother had too much attention in that hospital. Because when we took him there, nobody believed he's going to ever even move himself, let alone sit up. We were in that hospital for 5 months. And mid-December, this past year, mid-December, my brother left that facility not on a wheelchair, but walking on his two hands. Not on a wheelchair, or rather on his two legs, sorry. My brother walked out of the hospital, and everyone was, the doctors kept saying this. They kept offering him, come and be this, come and be this, because nobody saw it possible that man would one day go back to being a man. Of course, he left the hospital. His body now was functioning. He was walking. He was using his left hand well, but his right hand was having a bit of problems. He could not really move his right hand because of pain on his shoulder. The nerves seemed to still be stuck on his right arm. But so he goes home, and we are excited. We bless God because you cannot begin to understand. We were in hospital for 6 months, and in the first 3 months, hopeless. And I mean, they gave us no hope. But I want to bless God because even when everybody broke down, I remember I walked out of the ICU room where we were being talked to because I didn't want to see the tears because I had to believe that my younger brother would walk. And he walked. But then he goes home and he's still having a problem with his arm. And he calls me one day, day after Christmas, and tells me how at night, on Christmas morning, he woke up pretty frustrated by his arm because all therapy was not helping. And the pain was crazy and the arm was not moving at all. So he couldn't even use the arm at all. It used to stay right on his belly all the time, whether he's standing or sitting, because he can't move it. And then he calls me on 26th morning and tells me how at night, when he was sleeping, at around 2 a.m., 25th, Christmas Day coming to Boxing Day, something happened. He's lying on his bed. He's lying on his back, which is how he would lie. And then his right arm starts moving on its own. And he wakes up the wife and tells the wife, hey, remove the duvet because my arm is moving. And he says with zero effort, his arm would move back and forth. It would be moved to his mouth, moved back in. He would be turned to the side by a force he could not see. Now, my brother is not born again. So this for him was beyond explanation. By a force that he could not see. He would be moved to the right and moved to the left. They exercised his arm. The angel of the Lord exercised his arm for a long time. The wife sat there and stared. as the Lord did therapy on the arm that could not move. And in the morning when he woke up on 26th, as a reflex, he did not support himself on the left hand the way he was used to because it was a working hand. He supported himself with the right hand that could not move before. And now, even though the hand needed exercise, this hand no longer felt pain and was no longer stuck to his body. Why am I giving you this testimony? Because no matter how hopeless some situations seem, when God is on his throne and people dare believe him, God does what is exceedingly abundantly above what you can ask or imagine. My brother believes in miracles today, not because I preached it to him, not because my sister preached it to him. My sister is a deacon. The other one is an elder. Not because we preached it to him, not because anyone told him that God can do miracles, because he has witnessed the miracles God can do. And so today I want to encourage you because I know I'm giving this testimony today for a reason. That hopeless situation, that very difficult situation, that almost impossible situation. Let me tell you something. I've seen God raise up my brother from an invalid bed to a man that walks, a man that talks, a man that was told he would never be any of these things, a man who the devil had planned to kill at the primary of his life, but the Lord preserved. Why? Because someone dared believe, people dared believe. And so when my brother began to see one hand move, he thought, wait, maybe this thing they say can happen. It can happen for you too. And so I want to join my faith with yours today and declare with you in the name of Jesus, that impossible situation is turning around to a possible situation. That difficult situation, the Lord is making it an easier situation. What you think cannot happen is about to begin happening right in front of your eyes. My mother was crying and saying she can't bury another child. And I remember telling God, I'm not even anymore now praying for any of us. Lord, do not let my mother bury another child. And the Lord answered that prayer. And so shall he answer in your life. You will not lose another job. You will not close another business. You will not, bury another child. You will not bury a parent or a spouse. The Lord is rising up for your sake. Please know, this God is able. This God is merciful. This God is beautiful. This God is wonderful. This God is kind to all that dare look to him. He doesn't look at how good we are. He just looks at, can you believe me? Because if you can believe me, I can make it happen for you. And so may you enjoy, may you experience the miraculous in your life. May you experience breakthroughs that go beyond your comprehension. I wish you an amazing, amazing time in the presence of the Lord as you receive his miracles. In Jesus' name. God bless you. And thank you for staying to the end. Share it with someone if they need a miracle, because God is a wonder-working God. God bless you. Reverend Mercy Love, with love.